Welcome to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. In this episode, we'll be listening to Building Your Bookstore's Media Presence, a session that was presented at Winter Institute 2026 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, thank you, Preeti. Beautiful. Oh, it's 9:30. Welcome, everybody. Let's get started. There are some empty seats up here at the front if anybody wants to come sit down. We don't bite. All right, welcome to Building Your Bookstore's Media Presence. Thanks for being here, guys. The housekeeping you've already seen a billion times. Slides will be available in the app. Please fill out the survey. We want to know if we did well and provided some value to you and your stores. Recordings will be available later. Please silence your cell phones. And Preeti will be running around with the mic for the Q&A portion. So please wait for the mic to ask your question so that it can be picked up on the recording for everybody's benefit. And the antitrust guidelines. Please remember that we cannot discuss price or pricing policies, boycotts, dividing up the market, but we all know this because you've heard it 10 times already. Our session objectives. By the end of this session, you'll be able to redefine what media success looks like for independent bookstores, recognize simple strategic ways to build visibility and media readiness, and develop key assets that make your store media ready. So let's start with some introductions. Caitlin, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Caitlin Fouch from Book People of Moscow in Moscow, Idaho. I am a noob to the book world. I've only been an owner for about 8 months. And before that, I was running a marketing company.
I'm Sarah Arnold. I am the marketing director at Parnassus Books in Nashville, Tennessee. So I do our social media, website, blog, advertising, anything with a screen is my job.
My name is Charlie Huntz. I own Charlie's Queer Books in Seattle. We've been open for about 2.5 years, and I do everything.
My name is Justin. I'm the general manager of Uncle Bobby's Coffee and Books in Philadelphia. We just celebrated 8 years. And like Charlie, I do a little bit of everything as well.
All right, so we're going to start by reframing success and noticing that media buzz does not have to start big to be meaningful. It's about building long-term relationships with media in your community, and it's not always going to be a one-off win. And the type of coverage that you think, that might benefit you the most might actually turn out to not generate the results that you want. I have a good example of that from Parnassus, and this is no shade to Reese Witherspoon or her team or Reese's book club because they're
sure about
great. But Reese lives in Nashville and needed to film a commercial for one of her partnerships and asked if they could come film the commercial at Parnassus. And we were like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. How cool would that be? It took a lot of time and coordinating and effort on my part to get everybody on the same page. And the ensuing commercial didn't feature our branding at all. So if you don't know Parnassus, you didn't know that that's where it was filmed. So that was kind of a bummer. So, when you hear Reese Witherspoon wants to shoot a commercial in your store, automatically you think, yes, of course. But just know that the big names don't always bring the desired results, and starting with a more niche approach in your community might generate much better results than, the household names that you can think of.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. And I think reframing success is important when you're thinking about media, because not all media will achieve the same goal. Mm-hmm. We've had similar situations where there's names or there's a big brand that wants to be involved with something we're doing at Uncle Bobby's. And I do that because for that type of media attention, my success is just visibility, right? Just to be able to say I did some cool stuff. I got a call from Penguin on a random Sunday saying that Bono, YouTube Bono, was in town rehearsing. Now, if you are familiar with Uncle Bobby's, I would say the Venn diagram of you two listeners and Uncle Bobby's doesn't really Then, but I would be a fool to say, hey, no, Bono cannot come to Uncle Bobby's and sign books. So he came while we were closed, signed a bunch of books, took a bunch of pictures, and we posted it, right? I knew that wasn't going to necessarily, we sold books, don't get me wrong, but the customer that would buy the Bono book may not come back to Uncle Bobby's. It was just to be able to put on Instagram and say, Bono came to the store. That's kind of cool. However, when local news, Channel 6 ABC Philly reaches out because they want to do an activation around the holiday season, I don't necessarily see it as visibility. That's when I want to drive sales. And local media in Philadelphia, the morning news in Philadelphia is where people with jobs watch, and then people with jobs get in their cars and go buy stuff. So if local news is reaching out, I define success as driving sales. So my wish to you is that you understand which media attention drives which success metrics, and then you seek that out. If it's visibility, there's certain people and certain institutions that'll give you that. If it's driving sales, understand which media attention will deliver those sales and bring those people into your store.
Yeah, we've had our goal for media is very much a one-to-one situation or an individual situation. We started our approach to media. No, I mean, we purposefully were quiet when we rolled out because we're a queer bookstore. And even though we're in Seattle, there have been other queer businesses in our neighborhood that have had issues, sometimes from out of state, sometimes in the state. So we purposefully were actually quiet for the first 6 months until I really got my bearings. And then we decided, okay, now we can start to talk to people about us. We took our approach to media like we do our events as a brand new bookstore. So I know that Penguin Random House isn't going to send their biggest author to me if I have no experience with events. So I start with local authors, and even though they don't drive a ton of sales, you're getting the reps, and you're having a portfolio that you can start to show bigger outlets. So same with media. We had some contacts in the queer community who worked at the local free gay newspaper, Seattle Gay News, and we started there, did a couple quick easy wins, and then we can start to, when we put them on our website, we start to get SEO, then people start to find us, and then when we share it on our website, which we'll talk about later, like that shows bigger outlets that we're legit and that there's something to write about. So when you're reframing media success, you think about what your goal is and where you are in your media journey.
I just want to quickly add to that too. I live in Moscow, Idaho. I have been an owner for 8 months, but the store's been around since 1973. And it's in a small town. It's 25,000 people. So when I look at reframing my media success, it's going to look quite a bit different. As far as, those big names, they're not going to be coming to my store. So yeah, local authors are fabulous, and really focusing my platform and my reframing on that one-to-one contact with my community members, and really building that strong foundation and base that we're a third space, we're a safe space, we're one of like the few places within 200 miles where you can come in and buy a queer book, a Black author book. We're in like a reading desert where we're at. So reframing, finding your niche and what you're offering your community is key.
So I think, Justin, if you can talk to us about becoming newsworthy and leaning into what you do well, that will sort of naturally attract media attention.
It's the picture that's on the slide.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get into that. Don't worry.
I was like, what?
You first.
No, I think that what's key, for us, one thing about us is we know who we are and we know who we represent. We are unapologetically who we are. And one thing that does is that gives a clear framework to whoever wants to cover you or cover your customers. We support Black and other marginalized communities at Uncle Bobby's. So, I don't know, hot take, there's a lot of attention going on with those subject matters over the last several years, and media wants to cover it. So they're always looking for voices, they're always looking for institutions that either can speak about it or that represents it. So when you have a clear framework of who you are, it does make it easier for media professionals to seek you out or to want to speak to you about something. The other thing is doing things that may be considered newsworthy. Charlie talked about events. Events are an easy way just to get attention, whether it's a small author or whether it's a big author. There is always someone, and what I like to say is we think of media as like this amorphous kind of thing, but media is just like people with jobs. And those people have to just be successful at their jobs. They need things to cover. They're always looking for things to cover. It is not as complex as we want it to be. So we just need to try and meet them in the middle, right? Identifying which reporters, which journalists are local that are interested in some of the things that we do and fostering those relationships. And we just, again, we had Bono at the store because I knew some people was going to care about that. And the people that may not listen to his music would be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Bono's at Uncle Bobby's. And maybe they just check on our Instagram one more time that week. Or maybe some other folks they weren't thinking about us the week before and they saw that Bono's at the store and it was like, oh, you know what, I need to go get a book or I need to go grab a cup of coffee. So being intentional, knowing who you are is one of the ways we try to be newsworthy.
It's the perfect intersection because once you have that, then if something's happening in the zeitgeist, like heated rivalry or even like
Man,
book
that must
bans.
have been, man.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Dude. Hell yeah. Just
Yeah,
flowing, just business flowing.
It's
Right?
pretty great.
Hell
not
yeah.
gonna
Hell
lie.
yeah.
But or book bans, or if something's in the news, what is your perspective on it? Is there something unique about your store that gives you a voice that would be something a reporter would care about, something that they hadn't heard before? So we did some outreach. Usually around the time of elections, we actually hit up press sometimes and be like, here's our unique perspective on what's happening. I'll give an example with book bans, because when you look at the data, the majority of book bans are have LGBTQ subject matter. And then when you look a little deeper, most of those authors that are banned are of color. So it's something that doesn't really it's not the headline. And so we can drill deeper into that and provide perspective for media. We got to do the thinking for them. They really appreciate that. And do the work and say, here's a unique perspective on a story that's already been written about that could give you something special to write about.
You're giving them that conversation that they will likely not have, but may come in contact with through the media.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's something that Charlie's Queer Books can give a different kind of quote than someone at Elliott Bay. Love you all.
Charlie, how do you feel about chain smoking nuns?
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Tell us more.
yeah, we had worked with this particular news station on a completely different story, and then one of their photojournalists, which is the person with the camera, got the opportunity to do just a passion project for themselves that's just B-roll, essentially, with not a lot of voiceover. And they didn't tell me that this is a great learning lesson. I knew I had a mic that was hot, but I thought they were just filming B-roll. And it turned out that I was helping a customer who was looking for a mystery book. And I said, how do you feel about chain smoking nuns? Divine Ruin is the book I was talking about. And
amazing.
So we took this it was only going to be on the web. They weren't going to air it on TV. It was just something to put on the website. But we wanted to use every opportunity that we had at the store and get more miles on it. So we downloaded the clip from the internet and we took some great quotes from it and then turned it into an Instagram slide. And that also told us which quotes resonated with people. And this was the one that got shared the most. It was in the middle of the carousel, so it wasn't the first thing, if I remember correctly, that folks saw. And because of this one slide, we actually got the author to do a pre-order campaign with us, and we're able to hopefully snag her on the next book tour. But we developed a relationship with that author because we tagged her, and then she DM'd us, and we just built a relationship from there.
Jesse, you want to talk about
Yeah, I
this?
figure I should jump in with this slide. I'll state the obvious. Yes, if you can get a Supreme Court justice to come to your store, you're going to get the media. That is not really the goal of that slide. But what I want to say is that was the result of like 7 years of grind. That was the result of building relationships with the publishers, building relationships with publicists, managers, and like Charlie mentioned earlier, forming a track record that we can execute events. I had no idea they were going to give us her event. I assumed, like most folks at her level, they were going to pick a venue, pick everything. We just show up with books and that's it. So when they called me and say, "Hey, we want you to do it," it took a second. I mean, I said yes, but it took a second to like kind of develop the magnitude of that. And my point though was also be ready when it comes. We had built this track record. I didn't know that was going to come as an opportunity, but when that opportunity comes, you do want to make sure you're ready. You do want to make sure you're prepared to execute. And we'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on that later. And then the one next to it, that is an Instagram reel. You may not be able to see it, but the handle is Visit Philly. Visit Philly is an institution in Philadelphia that focuses on tourism. And that is an institution I say yes to all the time. It sometimes is inconvenient when they want to do an activation, but I know that their goal is to just bring tourism. And again, they have a job to do. They're trying to bring people to the city of Philadelphia. And I'd like for them to continue to think of Uncle Bobby's as someone that represents Philadelphia. So I always say yes, whether it's just taking a photo, using our merch for some reason. This one happened to be a commercial with Patti LaBelle. I didn't know, right? Not when I said yes to them, I didn't know it was Patti LaBelle. But I was like, heck yeah, we got Patti. She didn't come to the store, but we were part of the commercial that had Patti LaBelle in it. So it can turn into cool stuff. So my recommendation is once you kind of foster that relationship, just nurture it, right? And just say yes, because you're helping them help you in that sense. Because again, media are just people with jobs that have their own deadlines and their own things to accomplish, and you can help them make their job easier.
So like we've kind of been talking about, starting with personalized pitches over mass emails to try to get press coverage is always going to work best. And starting small and local is always going to generate results. So the picture here is actually of a publishing and journalism class at one of our local universities, Belmont University. We have built some good relationships at Belmont, and now every semester this professor brings her publishing and journalism students to the store to take a tour. We take them all around the store. We take them in our back room. We show them what it's like working at a bookstore, and these are the journalists of the future. We want to impress upon them how important it is to support small local businesses, that we are newsworthy and that we have something to say and that we represent our communities. So this is one of the ways that we try to get in on the ground floor with the folks who are hopefully going to, be the next TV reporters in Nashville, the next beat writers for our newspaper. So it's a good example of growing and fostering those relationships over time. It doesn't all just happen at once.
A few ways that we've been able to target those niche and local offerings has been to expand our arts area in our store. And what we've done is we've created an artist in residency program. So every first Sunday of the month, we have a watercolor class. And for 6 months at a time, we have an artist that comes in and teaches the class. I taught the first 6 months. I don't know how I did it. I didn't really have time as an owner doing so many different things. But it was one way to get it started. And now we have at least 20 to 25 people coming each first Sunday of the month. I had an 82-year-old gentleman come in, and he had never painted in his life and came to the class. And I mean, it was just so heartwarming to see him trying something new for the first time. And then this has snowballed into something more where the second Sunday is now a poetry workshop. The University of Idaho reached out to us, and one of the professors there wants to teach this free class, this workshop. And then again, the third Sunday is now taken up, and I have an artist that's doing junk journaling night every third Sunday of the month. And so I'm kind of waiting to see what's next for that fourth Sunday. We'll see.
I think that's a good example of how folks nowadays are really looking for that third place.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were just doing, authentic community building, like people will come and media will come because they see something unique happening in your community. You don't have to create something totally crazy or out of the blue to generate that kind of coverage, because a watercolor class can lead to all kinds of things. Unfortunately, that seems like it's hard for folks to find community now, and so maybe that's all it takes to be newsworthy.
Yeah, maybe that story of that person is something you would pitch.
Yeah, I shared it. I
permission,
mean, I
but
did
yeah.
share it on social media,
Yeah,
I will
exactly.
say. But, I mean, somebody might do a special on, his name was Bob. You can go see him on my socials.
Give it up for Bob.
He's so
One
sweet.
more thing before you switch your slide. The idea of the personalized pitch, we're in 2026, and if there's one thing that all media professionals and journalists have in common is they check their DMs, like all of them, right? Twitter, Instagram, they just checking. So if you're having anything at your store and you've read a particular article that covered books a year ago, check the byline. That person probably has a social media account and they check their DMs. So DM them, hey, I'm such and such from this store. We're having an event at our store about these books. Love to have you come. They may not come the first time you check them, but you just DM them every time you do something that you think they may be interested in. One time they're gonna come, because guess what? They're people with jobs and they're gonna need a story that day. And they're gonna come that one time, and then you start that relationship. So go as personalized as reaching the specific. Don't just like email ... dailynews.com or whatever. You may not get a response, but check the bylines on articles that you think cover the topics you represent, and those people they'll read it. Whether they'll respond is hit or miss, but they'll read it. So go super detailed with the personalization.
Yeah, Justin's absolutely right. You don't need to know how to write a super formal press release, and you don't need to have the email contacts of everybody in your local media. Yeah, just sending a DM is as easy as that. And being prepared for when the media comes to you, though, is something that you've got to prepare for ahead of time. And Charlie has some good examples of that.
This is kind of what I was talking about with the portfolio aspect. Just like you know how to describe yourself when you're pitching an event, you need to know how to describe yourself when you're speaking to media. So again, harping on what makes you special, what makes you different from other bookstores. Practicing. So when you talk to smaller outlets in the beginning, that's great practice. You'll get to see in real time also on their face and what's resonating with them, what you need to lean more into, maybe what you cut. Your website is going to be the first place they go to see if you're legit. And so you need to make sure your About Us is clear, concise, something they can know instantly what makes you different and who you are. And then put a page on your site for press that you do get, because they're going to, again, see, oh, well, this other outlet talked to them, so there might be something here. Also, it helps with SEO. And it's just great bragging rights. Like, I forget sometimes what we've done. And so whether we started with small stuff, anytime I was on a podcast, we'd link to it. Anytime a neighborhood blog wrote about us in the beginning, we posted. And then as we got bigger and bigger outlets, we kind of are a little more curated with what we're showing on our press page. But these are really critical to show you're legitimate.
I have none of that. And so for those who don't as well, it's okay. I kind of took it on to do my own blog on my own website and tell my story, tell the community stories. So start there. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, this slide would be a good one to take a picture of if you don't already have a press kit on your website, but just some really basic facts that the media will want to know. Incorporate that into your About Us page. You can upload a file that is easily downloadable. I know indie commerce sites do that. I imagine Book Manager does it as well, and Shopify, whatever you've got. So having a curated file on hand that has high quality images,
Beautiful photos. Please invest in that. That's paid off.
yeah, and that's
Did the
our
dance.
next slide as well. I'll give you all some time to take a picture of that. But yeah, I mean, professional photography is a cost that will pay off. Absolutely. Because you're going to, when the media comes, whether it's print media, digital media, they're going to want a beautiful photo of your store to go along with their story. It needs to be ready for all formats. So high resolution, high quality, something that you feel proud of. If someone's going to look at one photo of your store and say, oh, I want to go there, it needs to be good. So, investing in professional photography, or if that's not in the cards for you, maybe going to a local college. And if they have photography programs, asking if any of their students want a job, it's going to be less costly than like a professional. So there are options, but getting some really good quality photos of your store is key. Another thing that we have at Parnassus, we want to let media know that we're open to hearing from them with our Contact Us form on our website. We have an indie commerce website. Web forms on 2.0 are amazing. And if people fill out this Contact Us form on the drop-down menu, select media and marketing, that email goes straight to me. And we have gotten everything from pitches from our local alternative weekly magazine to the New York Times from there. So showing that you're open to the media reaching out to you is really easy, and having a Contact Us form that says that you're open to media reaching out is important. And here are some examples of the high quality photos. Okay, community visibility is media strategy. Speaking at Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, local gatherings, we have some really great community organizations in Nashville that a number of our staff have gone to speak at their meetings, and that has turned into new book clubs registering with us for all their sales. That's turned into B2B sales for us. Talking to community leaders is really important.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of that, and just trying to be really creative in my small town. We don't have any big local news outlets. The closest one is about an hour and 45 minutes away from us. We've worked really hard to find ways to get around that. And so partnering with like student-led groups at the University of Idaho and Washington State University, which is like 7 miles from us. They've come in and done interviews and different projects with us for different classes, from communication to business to writing to poetry. So there is different ways to be creative about that. Another partnership that we do that gets a lot of visibility is Christmas for Kids. And we do it I've been there 8 months, but the store has done it every year for years. And that's just a beautiful way to bring the community and this program into your store and to give it a highlight in a big way. What else were we going to talk about? Oh, yeah. So you can see the photo of the romance book fair on there. What do they call it? The clutch? I think that's what it's called. So this was a really great way to use community as a strategy for media. So romance book fairs are happening all the time. What we did is we had it at a local restaurant, and then I brought in a local henna artist to do henna. I had another person doing on the site poetry for people with a typewriter. So as many like artisans and different people I could get to collaborate with me on that was so powerful, and sold out tickets, 50 tickets in just like 2 days. And then that event has now morphed. And so we did a Haunted Nights book fair, which we had a palm reader and a tarot reader. And then that was also offsite. And now we are able to have these events in store. We just did 2 weeks ago, shelf care night at our store. We had a guided meditation with yoga. I had an esthetician and a massage therapist there. So these powerhouse collaborations that happen between community members, it just spreads like wildfire, and people want to know what's happening next. And they're DMing me, they're asking me like, can I be a part of the next one? How can I help? What can I add? It's that one-on-one connection there that has just been really effortless and so powerful.
Yeah, showing up in your community is so important, and those unconventional community partnerships can lead to a lot of media coverage. Y'all know sports romances are hot, to say the least, right now, the heated rivalry of it all. And we decided to reach out to our local minor league baseball team, the Nashville Sounds, and ask if they wanted to have a sports romance book fair themed night, because they're always doing themed nights at their games. and they were totally on board. They were so excited. And so we sent a crew over there with some mostly baseball themed books, but other sports romance themed books. And media's already there covering those games. And they came up to us and said, we had no idea you guys would, come do something like this. This is such a neat idea. And that got us some coverage as well. So don't be afraid to think outside the box and find new ways to show up in your community.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best advice I got was to make your own holiday.
Oh
So
my gosh.
if there's something
What's your
about
holiday,
your stores,
Charlie?
we do the queer book fair, but scholastic, but queer. But even if like
I like that tagline. Scholastic, but queer.
Even if, God, just thinking off the top of my head, if your address is 413 36th Street, maybe on 413 you do a big event. Or if there's something in your name that you could play off of during the year, like just make it your own. We get more sales during that book fair than we do during Indie Bookstore Day.
Wow.
And we just made it up. There's really not that much different on that day.
Oh,
We just have other people come to the store, but we're not like,
Yeah. I forgot to mention the Storytime photo on the slide. So this theater is across the street from our bookshop on Main Street, and it's a nonprofit. And so we reached out to them, and we did Storytime every Saturday at the theater. And I photographed every page of every book and had it up on the big screen. And I had several people that would come read with me. And then we invited an ASL person to come and do sign language for us. And that has turned into now a regular story time in our store with ASL partnership.
So media coverage is awesome. We all are here because we want more media coverage for our stores, but it's really important to know if media comes to you, what their intentions are, what their angle is. Caitlin, I know you had an example with what happened in your community.
Yeah. Sorry, it's a little still hard. I went to the University of Idaho. I graduated from there. My husband graduated from there, and he's a professor. And it's been about 3 years now that we lost 4 students who were murdered there. And as a bookstore owner, we had so many people asking us if we were going to carry the books. And these books were coming out before, any real evidence was being shown. Like it was kind of a nightmare because at some point we still didn't know what was happening as a community. We were still afraid to go to sleep at night. We were locking, everything we could lock. And there was so much. This was like the only time I got reached out for like media coverage so far, which gave me a really strong experience where I really needed to know what these people's intentions were and what they were looking for. And when I figured that out first and they talked to me, they didn't want to share what I had to say. Because what I had to say was real, and it was something that didn't make a headline. And, I was okay with that. That's okay. So really, really vetting people can be really, really important.
Yeah, know when to say no if it's not something that aligns with your values.
Yeah, and you want to ask questions. It is okay to ask questions because the thing is once it's printed, once it's kind of out there, you've lost control of it. So all of your control is on the front end. Who is the person that's writing it? Mm-hmm. Is it a print piece? Is it a video piece? Will there be a photographer? These are all questions that you want to ask whoever reaches out to you. What is the story about? Who else is being interviewed? This will help inform you. Maybe they're just trying to use your brand as an angle to tell a different story that you don't want them to tell. And so getting all those questions asked on the front end is super important to making sure that you can protect your brand and you can protect whatever coverage comes from that interview or that print piece.
You're a journalist to the journalists. Like you're investigating them first, like, and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you already know, because we're talking about doing your research and knowing who's already in your community, covering things, which newspapers, which you should know who's who by then, that if someone reaches out to you from some weird website or something, it's like, all right, yeah, no, it's not going to work anyway. There was a picture a couple slides ago that said eater on top. Back in 2020, we probably got broken into like 12 times, right? It was crazy during COVID, we all know. And we got reached out to all the time by all the newspapers, and I said no to most of them because all they wanted to do was talk about the criminality of it. And one thing I'm not going to do is further the narrative that Black people are just criminals breaking into stuff. So my request is I would do the interview as long as we get to talk about why poor people or why people who are struggling feel like they need to break windows and steal cash registers. So if we talk about why and the system around it, and Eater Philadelphia was the only one that said, yeah, we'll let you talk about that. So in the print piece, they actually let us talk about economic inequality and poverty in the city of Philadelphia and what actually would make a person break a window to steal money, because I wasn't interested in, like I said, perpetuating stereotypes and just talking about the criminality of it all. So vetting, knowing when to say no, and asking questions is super important.
So we're going to wrap up here with, thank you both.
Thank you
for
Justin.
Sharing that. Yeah. So we'll wrap up here with some calls to action before we get to Q&A. So number one, identify which media outlets and journalists serve the customers you are trying to reach and DM them. Create newsworthy moments and invite the media to attend. Make sure your social media and website reflect who you are as a business and why you would be a good subject to cover. And make sure that you keep your authenticity and what you do best at the center. People will notice and the media will come, and nothing gets coverage faster than happy and excited customers.
Can I just pop in on that last bullet?
Yeah.
So for folks that know, the full phrase is keep the main thing, right? And the thing behind that is be good at what you do. If you are a bookstore, be good at selling books, right? If you're good at that, that is the most important tool you can have to drive media coverage, because happy customers talk to people. Some of those happy customers are people that have media jobs, right? Or know someone in the media. And the more that people are happy, the more people are going to talk, and word of mouth is the best way to get attention. And the thing is, if you're not good at what you do and you get all the media attention, guess what? It's not going to work out. You're just going to get a whole lot of people to realize that you're not good at your job. So keep the main thing. You can seek out all the attention you want, the visibility, the clicks, the exposure, but if you're not good at your job, it doesn't matter. So be good at your job. Be good at selling books and kicking ass, and you will be successful getting attention.
Yeah.
So let's open up for some Q&A, and raise your hand if you have a question. Preeti will come bring you the mic, and please remember to say your question into the mic clearly.
And thanks, Preeti.
Yeah, thank you, Preeti, and the whole
Get it,
ABA
girl.
team. Y'all are killing it this week.
I don't have a question. This is Lynn from Wordsworth Books in Little Rock. I don't have a question so much as I have something that we started doing. When you were talking about how these people have jobs and they have stuff they have to fill, every single day there's a morning show or an afternoon lifestyle show in your town or your city. They need coverage. I reached out to one of ours. We had been on there for some other reason, and I asked them if they wanted to do a regular segment that was book related, and they jumped on it because they need content. So twice a month now, we have a segment on our 2:00 lifestyle show on one of our channels that either I go on or our storytime person goes on, or I bring an author for an author event on. Twice a month, it's 10 minutes, and it's gotten us a lot of people who are coming in going, oh, we saw you on TV. That was really great. So just an idea, and I'm wondering if any of you have regular segments and kind of how you structure them and what you do there.
Not as cool as yours. I mean, that's really awesome. The closest to a regular segment is around the holidays. We just prepare for an outlet that's going to reach out for a gift guide, and it's going to reach out to cover it, cover a piece. And then, spoiler alert, February is a pretty big month for Black people. We also prepare for regular coverage around that. So, but I'm gonna think about who I can reach out to about a regular segment. That's kind of cool.
The most regular, we are very close with the public library, and they have a librarian who does a regular piece in the Seattle Times. And so because we're close with her, we combine forces a lot.
We had a radio station reach out to us, and they wanted to do a book club each week. Yeah. So Book People is on the radio still. Wild.
We sometimes have folks go on local TV. We do our Tuesday Lay Down Diary videos, and local news has reached out asking if any of the Lay Down crew would come and recommend some books. Just, getting into spring break, we have somebody going on to talk about great spring break reads. Mostly themed around holidays and times of the year when people are looking to buy books. So it's a great strategy.
I feel like the Wild West bringing up the radio. I don't know.
It's still out there.
It's still happening.
Hi, my name is Bree, and my store is
Hi, Bree.
Book and Bottle, St. Pete. Hello. And not a question, but also my bookstore has a regular segment in our city, and our book buyer just talks about really fun books. He just gives his best recommendations, so I recommend that. Also, my bookstore, something else I just wanted to say for people who need ideas, we started an article club, and people are so hungry for media literacy. It's been so amazing to see people come and listen to journalists talk about the articles that they've written.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
I need to write these down.
We have a local weekly newspaper, and they kept hitting me up for advertising, which was kind of a non-starter. So I said to them, we'll provide a weekly book review column for you, and you will give me ads. You don't have to pay me. And we've been doing that for 2 years now. And I wasn't even sure a lot of people were reading the weekly newspaper, but we give them book recommendations every week, and every single week people come in to buy those things that we recommended. So again, if you can do it as a comp for them and do it regularly, they give us like back page space now. It works out great.
Physical media making a comeback.
Well, and that relates to this isn't a one-sided conversation. You have power in what you can ask for back.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Thank you guys so much for sharing all your wisdom this morning. I wanted to know, you've talked about what has worked for you in the past and what you're doing now. I just wanted to see, when you think about the future for each of your stores, what are you striving toward in terms of media presence, I guess? What are you looking to achieve down the road? Yeah.
It's that last bullet point I said.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be known for being awesome, by as many people as possible. And I think different opportunities come from being awesome, frankly, and being good at what you do. I will just give you one quick story. 2022, I got a random email from a random producer that said, I have a t-shirt that I bought from your store. I'm familiar with your store. And we're working on this Netflix show with Coleman Domingo, and we just want a release for him. Now, if I was like Ford or Bud Light, I could probably ask a bunch of questions like, what's the plot and what's that? But I know I didn't have that kind of power. So I was like, all right, Netflix, Coleman Domingo, I got to make a choice. So I said yes. Now, someone could have been it could have been a crazy scene with my branding. I had no idea. But it turned out that in episode 5 of Netflix's The Madness, we're in a 2-minute scene with an amazing character wearing our t-shirt. She's like a Philly activist, and she's wearing our t-shirt for 2 minutes in a Netflix show. And I would have never told you that that's something that was on my radar in 2019 when I took over running operations, but they told me that the person who picked the t-shirt loved what we do. Mm-hmm. And they were doing the show based in Philly, and they wanted something that represented this character who is a community organizer, who is very literate, who is about all the things we represent. And they thought, you know what, they should have an Uncle Bobby's t-shirt. So that's my vision. I don't know where it can go. I can't give you a specific, but I just want people to think we're great at what we do and who we serve. And I like to believe that great opportunities is going to come from that.
Mm-hmm. I feel the same way, Justin. book people are my people. And if I can get that out there in the world, that's all that matters to me. And that first comes from my authenticity in the store every single day. The closest thing I've gotten to that has been a 3-year-old who now believes I live at the bookstore because I'm always there. And he's like, "You're the book people. Like you're," and I'm like, yes, I am. And I will read to you and I will help you. But yeah, we don't know what's around the bend. I think just being open to it and doing what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'd say for us, Nashville is a rapidly growing city. At one point, there were 100 people moving there a day. And it's getting harder and harder for small businesses to make it in a town that is becoming increasingly commercialized. So our goal, and I don't know what form it's going to take, but it's always going to be to emphasize the importance of small businesses, of third places, how that is the fabric of our community, and to remind folks that, if you want us to stay here and if we're important to you, you got to let us know by spending your dollars with us. Otherwise, we're not going to be around.
Question and a comment. The comment was just as other people were sharing examples. One thing that got us, not media necessarily, but our bank asked us if we would record a radio ad for Small Business Month last May. And they're like, "We're just going to use it for May." And I was like, "That sounds great. I mean, that's awesome." But they keep running the ad. So people keep coming in the store like, "I heard you on the radio." I'm like, "Okay, great." My question is, a lot, the one thing that we can all control is social media. I'm curious, because you guys have all such amazing Instagram feeds, is what your philosophy is on reels versus just static posts, and which do you try to do more, or is there a goal with how many of each you're doing each week or whatever?
So I in past careers I've been in charge of social media for brands that are global, brands that are in all kinds of different industries with all kinds of great KPI. And I'll just tell you, especially now running a small business, any post is a good post. Just post. If you're chasing algorithms, you'll drive yourself crazy. Like even on Reels, if you make the reel out using a different platform and then post it onto Instagram, like if there's captions from that program that you're putting up, instead of doing the captions through Instagram, it'll suppress it. Like there's all kinds of things that factor into it. And I've just learned, even if it's not the most beautifully edited thing, those are actually some of the best ones. But just get it up. Certainly, photos from our store perform better than graphics, and videos tend to do better than static posts. We do love a carousel, and we'll usually put a nugget, just like a meme or something at the end to reward people for swiping, and those get shared, and we learn a lot from those because we see what other folks what kind of our content that we're sharing. But media does include social media, and we partner. Some of the media hits that we've gotten that mean the most to me are actually other people's reels about our store. And we share everything to our story that people post and tag us in. Those mean a lot. And a random TikTok that somebody made from our gushing about our store turned out to be some of the biggest media hit we've ever had. And as far as the goal was driving customers. We got the most new customers from that.
Everyone is media now.
Yeah.
There's traditional media, TV, radio, but everyone has an Instagram account. So everyone is media. Be sure that, like Charlie said, if somebody takes a photo of your store and shares it and tags you on social media, repost it, comment on it, say thank you so much for
Always
coming,
comment, yeah.
and engage with them on social media. That kind of consistency, both in posting and engaging with your customers, is key.
I'm not on it every day. Like, I'm like maybe sometimes once a week, I'll look through that thing and I'm like, damn it, I missed this one person who wrote about us. But like, I can only do so much. But I just have to remind myself, posting something is better than nothing.
I ran a marketing company before I got into the book world, and I did a lot of long format video work for companies. I did drone work, got my Part 107 license, and then a lot of social media. And my tagline for my business was community focused, authentically sourced. So first and foremost, it was going to be driven by the community, and then it was going to be authentic. So it was going to be something that came from that business, from that proprietor, something they were passionate about. Following trends can be good and funny, but really just showing who you are and what you do on a day-to-day basis is key.
I'm Anastasia from The Bottom in Knoxville, Tennessee. Hi. I think because it's Black History Month, one of my biggest frustrations with the media is that they contact us so late, or like they want to talk to us tomorrow. And we're a small team, and it's really difficult for us to quickly pivot to be able to do those things. So can you talk a little bit about how you navigate those last minute requests?
Yeah, you got this, Justin.
Yeah.
I have like two little like nuggets about that. And this, I think this also, if you're a queer store and it's June, or if it's women and it's next month, right? Media folks, again, they're people with jobs. They got a million deadlines. So sometimes they just don't get to you until it's time. So what I do is, who is doing the asking? If the right person is doing the asking, I'll make anything happen in 24 hours. My favorite thing to do to people is tell them that we're also available on March 1st.
Hell yeah.
Because then you make them say, oh, well, I guess I could talk to your Black bookstore after Black History Month. And you'd be surprised how many people we do some type of activation with after February 28th, because I put that out there that we still exist after February 28th. So those two kind of things. Again, depending on who's doing the asking, I will move mountains to get the coverage or get the attention if it makes sense for the brand. But I always push back. Like, you can also reach out another time about books, and that has had some success for us. Yeah.
My name is Anderson McKean, and I'm with Page and Palette in Fairhope, Alabama. And this is kind of going back to the conversation about social media, is that one of the things that we struggle with is because really our social media is one of the primary ways we inform everyone about our events. And we're a very event-driven bookstore, but of course that's also where we're putting out book recommendations and things. And then, as you mentioned, people are tagging us when they have a good experience at events. And so I worry a little bit about when I'm, resharing all those things when we're tagged, that I'm kind of flooding the market with all those type of things, when I'm also desperately trying to get out information about the upcoming author events that we have. And so I would just love your thoughts on kind of, balancing those type of things, or, is there too much, I guess? And this is someone who is in charge of social media, and it started during COVID because no one else was doing it. And now it's my burden to bear.
I don't think you necessarily have to reshare everything publicly for all your followers to see if you're worried it's going to bury content that's going to be valuable to people. So if somebody tags you in their story that they came to your event and had a really good time, and you don't want to reshare it because you've already reshared 3 stories about the same event, just DM that person back and say, thank you so much. We'd love to see you again. Here's a link to an upcoming event you might like. It's not necessarily about making it so public, but just engaging with that one person. So pick a select few, but respond to everyone so that they feel like, you saw it, you engage, you appreciate the fact that they're talking about your store to their followers.
And you're avoiding that spammy feeling, which is great.
Yeah.
We use the different channels within a channel for that purpose. So we will share things to our story versus just resharing, which you can now just do in Instagram. Hate that. Anyway, so we'll either put things to story. We created, and they have channels on Instagram now, which is like basically a group that you can DM. And we call them Charlie's Angels. It was just low-hanging fruit. I'll probably get sued or something, but let them come for the small business. I dare them. But anyway, so we will share like event news before anybody else gets it, or we'll share some types of content in that thing, and that's like customers who will come to events. Like they are that deeply embedded in your business. Then we'll pin all our upcoming event posts. So like here are all the things happening in March. Here are all the book clubs happening in March. We'll pin those to the top of our profile. We will also try to level set expectations with authors on who's going to get a feed post, and who's going to get a story post, who's going to get a newsletter thing, so that way not every event is getting a feed post, because that just tanked our engagement. They'll get a feed post in as part of our month roundup, and they'll get like, here's all the things you will get. So I'd say just kind of based on the return you're going to get on an event is how much resources you should put into promoting it on social media.
My question is actually kind of a follow-up to that one, which is we're building an events program and it's primarily authorless events, so we don't have to like set that expectation, but we're struggling with balancing keeping our bookstore vibe alive on social media with like getting the information out there that has to get out about events and other things going on in the store and things that are important to us. And so as I've been looking at the images, like a lot of what you're showing is event posts and more like sort of information rather than just how your store is. And I'm wondering how to balance that. Does that make sense?
Graphics perform horribly
Yes.
for us on Instagram as feed posts. So if we have an exciting event coming up that I want to share on our feed, but I don't want to share it as a graphic because no one's going to end up seeing it, I will have a bookseller take a fun picture holding up that author's backlist. And it shows our store, shows how, it shows our booksellers having fun. Think of some indirect ways of communicating information that doesn't just have to be text on a screen, because it's not going to get the engagement that you want. And we also do, we talk about events in some weekly videos that we post as well, which is another way to get it done without a graphic. But there are definitely unique ways to convey information, and the people who recognize those backlist books or recognize that author's name when you say it out loud, they'll scroll to the caption and see what's coming up.
One way we've gotten around that negativity against graphics is we've hired different artists to do different posters for events. And then we actually bring those posters to the event and we'll like give them away as a prize or whatever. But like our Page to Screen Movie Book Club, we have artists that make those posters for us every month. And that's a really cool way to bring in that human element into those graphics.
I love that idea. That's great.
I was just gonna say real quick, I'm kind of Charlie. The algorithm thing, I don't know, dude. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where
don't give a F about it.
It's like I have some graphics that do amazing, and then will post another book rec with some graphics, and then no one sees it. Like I have absolutely no idea, what is gonna work. So it goes back to: do I think it's cool? Do I think someone who sees it is gonna like it? We post it, right? But what we've done at Uncle Bobby's to try to pivot away from depending on social media, because what happened after 2020 is our Instagram blew up. And then I saw what happened with Twitter and realized that at any time, this whole Instagram thing could just go away in a way that I don't feel comfortable with. So I pivoted to a newsletter. And I focus so much more on my attention of growing that subscriber base, because I know that it's going right to these specific people in their inbox. I know who's opening it. And more than likely, you're not just flicking past it like you would on an Instagram scroll. So I also think that there is a way that we should also protect ourselves and trying to depend on social media, because we have so little control over what post works, which post doesn't, which does this, which does that. So my advice, just do what you think is cool, right? Try your best to game it if you can. But if you can't, that's okay too. And also find that different ways to connect with your customers, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's in person, whether it's, doing other ways to communicate, because, someone can just buy it tomorrow and turn it into a Nazi property.
No, email, that data belongs to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have those emails. That's your list. Instagram followers, those people are not yours. Those are Instagram's people.
If they're people.
If they're people,
They're
maybe they're
probably
bots.
bots.
Maybe half of them are bots these days. But yeah, like email is not dead. If you use it well and you're not like spamming people, growing that subscriber base, yeah, Justin, you're absolutely right. It's so valuable because that data is yours. People trust you with that data, and it's not going to go anywhere if some new billionaire buys Instagram tomorrow. We've got time for one more question.
Hi, I'm Bianca from Tally Ho Books in Oakland. So my question is about spending money on media stuff. So like, boosting posts on Instagram and stuff like that. Neither I nor my co-owner are super media savvy. We've only been around for a year and a half, so we've done very little like marketing in general. We've just done well because of like foot traffic and our pasts in the book selling business. But yeah, so I feel like, I don't know, should I spend money on this thing? I don't really want to give more money to Instagram, and like, should I spend money on an ad in this local paper that I don't, know how to judge like returns on and stuff? And just curious about all of your approach to that.
Remember, you have co-op dollars you can spend for that. So if you get, publishers always ask for advanced permission, and if they approach you for an event, this is just an event example, then you can use $200 of co-op money to pay for those ads. $200 doesn't exactly go far on social to boost posts. But other than, I've only done that when I'm desperate. Or I have something really niche that I want to target a certain audience for. But otherwise, don't spend money.
Yeah.
Okay, small counterpoint. Just what I said at the top, some media is for certain things. How do we redefine success? Instagram, 9 times out of 10 is a visibility thing for us. Like, we're not necessarily going to drive sales from a post necessarily. But when we're trying to sell an event or around holiday season and we do a gift guide, I do buy some boosted posts for Instagram because, spoiler alert, if you spend money on Instagram, it'll go more places. But that is a very intentional choice, right? That $200, that $300, whatever we'd spend on that post is going to go, and then you factor 1% of the people that actually see it coming to the store, you'll make that money back. So that is when I boost posts on social media, is when I'm intentionally trying to drive a specific goal. And, we had success with events, so I'm able to kind of track the success of those boosted posts. So that is the only, if you need that direct ROI, I'm trying to sell something specific, that is something that's trackable, I do recommend spending some dollars boosting a post on that.
And if you're going to boost a post, don't do it in the Instagram app. Go on your desktop and boost it from there. Apple, because you're using the Instagram Apple app, will charge a 30% markup on those fees. So don't boost from the app. Go on your laptop and boost from there, and you will not have to pay that 30% additional on top of what you're using to boost. Okay, thank you guys so much for coming. Appreciate you.
You can always fill out the session survey online, but if anyone wants a paper survey, I have them. You can fill them up and give them to me, or you can drop it at the welcome desk. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Booked, the bookstore education podcast brought to you by the American Booksellers Association. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast app. Additional educational resources can always be found on the ABA site at www.bookweb.org. Happy reading!